It's 1,000 horsepower. It's 1,000 horsepower no matter what. It's an LS, it's 1,000.
Yep, 1,000 horsepower.
1,000 horse.
Until it hits the dyno. Then you get disappointed.
Alright guys, welcome to another video from XF Motorsports. In this one we're starting another pretty big project. We're going to be taking a V12 engine out of this Mercedes S600 and we're putting it into that car at the back, the 500 SEC. And helping me out with this project is going to be Stefan from the Boss Garage. You might have seen him previously on YouTube.
Hey guys.
And yeah, he's going to explain how we're going to do all this.
So apparently we're taking this out.
Yep.
And we're going to put it in that nice little car back there. We're going to figure out how to do the wiring and do a standalone ECU. What ECU? A Haltech. And we'll figure it out from there, and the transmission as well, right?
Yeah, and it's a little more cooler than that because while we're at it, we're going to be putting bigger turbos with this one, trying to get more power out of it.
You got it, right?
Yeah. Transmission is also going to be like standalone. So basically, it's a little more different than the red car you might have seen previously on the channel. But let's actually start off by showing you guys both these cars and taking it apart.
So here's a look at the first car, the S600. It has a 5.5 liter V12 Biturbo engine that we're actually going to be taking out in this video.
Get in a little bit of a fender bender. Apparently the guy driving it was chasing his old lady who was having a bit too much fun on the side. So the guy went off the road. All four rims are smacked pretty bad, and he hit something in the front and did a little bit of damage to it.
Yep, definitely not drivable anymore, but the engine, luckily, well, other than a bit of damage, which we're going to show you later, underneath the car, it seems like it's going to be in pretty good shape. So for our purpose, it seems like a pretty good car. The transmission is, of course, a 5-speed. That's a bit of a lame part in this car, but we're putting a standalone transmission controller with this one. So hopefully, with that standalone controller, things are going to speed up a little bit. Shifting's going to be a little bit faster. Inside, yeah, pretty clean, but we don't really care about all this. Another cool thing about this one, actually, now that I think about it, this one has the reclining rear seats. This was a really cool feature back in the day. Like the back seats actually, well, newer S-classes still have it. You can get this option. Yeah, this one is for, I believe, the contours. Like there's an air cushion that comes up.
Oh yeah,
Turn
yeah,
that,
yeah. The bolstering.
Yeah.
Inflation.
Heated, cooled, all the adjustment you need at the back. And well, now let's get to the really cool part, showing you guys the car that all this is going to be going into. It's this car, well, this car actually came from Japan, well, from this Chase, the S600. This one actually got imported all the way from Japan. It's a really clean one. It's really a car that when you drive it and when you look at it, you don't really even feel like taking it apart because it's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice car. It does need love though. It needs, you know, all new seals, all weather stripping. It looks like it sat in the sun for a lot of its life, but it is a nice clean car.
For sure. So this one, well, this one actually doesn't even drive right now, so there's not much to show you over there, but this one actually does run and drive. So let's actually take you guys for a ride in this car, and then well, in the next video we're going to be taking this one apart too, and then we're going to start off by trying to get this one working with a V12 engine. So I've already driven this car around like a few times. I really like it. Now it's Stefan's time to drive it, see what he thinks about it.
I'm just gonna
the difference with well, this project and like what we started off with the red car, the other one, is that this is actually like a fully functional, nice driving proper car. So it's going to be a little painful taking this one apart actually. Well, it's just making some belt noises and other things, but other than that, it drives really nice. What do you think?
Drives like an SL. I had an 83.
Yeah.
380 SL. I drove that a lot. This one, like, it's got good power actually, and I was like a little bit of throttle.
Yeah. It's like what, 200 horsepower or something? These ones came with what? It's a 5 liter V8. I'm not sure what power it had.
I don't believe it's only 24,000 kilometers on it though.
That's what it says.
But nothing's moving either.
It's not working at 24,000. So we know.
And that's a common thing on these, is the gears inside strip out. I've had to replace them. Another trick is people will cut the there's an O2 sensor on these things. I don't know if this had O2, but I know in the 83, and I guess this would have too.
It's such a nice driving car, like so smooth.
It is. You definitely feel like it's worn out a little bit.
But still, like, the steering has no play at all.
Yeah.
Works perfectly. Every other old Mercedes I've driven, the steering wheel seems like it's
a lot of slop.
Yeah. Like gears, shifts fine, engine works fine. Everything's perfect on this one. So
It's definitely a good start.
Yeah.
It's really clean, but it still needs like some good love.
Yep. Well, bodywork wise, we're not going to be doing too much ourselves. We just need to get everything working, and then later on the person is actually going to be taking it to a body shop and getting all
Tape
that
deck
done.
don't work.
That's okay. We don't need it when we have a V12. So after that, it was on to taking the Mercedes S600 apart, trying to get the massive V12 biturbo engine out of the car. For this one, we had to do it a little bit the unconventional way because the car was in a front collision and all the radiators were hitting against the engine, so we had to cut some of that out of the way. Here's a look at the car after removing quite a bit from it. So we got into like a bit of trouble with the front because that was all crushed up and the radiators were already hitting against the engine, so there wasn't really any clean way of taking it out. We just had to cut that everything from the front off and like pull the radiators out that way. They were broken anyways, so it wasn't much point saving those. The alternator, the water-cooled alternator, the plug is broken at the front, so I hope this still works. I'm not sure. But other than that, the engine is, well, it seems like in fairly good condition, at least so far. Well, other than this damage at the bottom, the whole oil pan is broken. The pickup on the oil pump is broken. Both the upper and lower pans are cracked, so that is something that's definitely gonna need some fixing. We're gonna need new oil pans for it. And other than that, yeah, we've disconnected pretty much everything, the drive shaft, whatever, transmission mount, all the plugs, electrical lines, of course. And now we're pretty much at the point where we need to lift up the engine from the top, and we're just gonna try to take it out from the front, because that's probably the easiest thing to do in this case, since everything from the front is already removed. So yeah, let's give that a try and see how everything goes.
We're taking it out the way you're not supposed to.
Here's a look at the Mercedes V12 biturbo after it's finally pulled out of the car. And apologize, we did miss a little bit of video. The battery ran out when we were pulling the engine out of the car, but
A little bit of fighting.
yep, definitely had to do a little bit of fighting because we couldn't pull that cat out because we broke one of the bolts that was holding it in place. And because of that, it was really tight trying to get this engine out with one of the cats in place. But
it's doable.
yep, it's definitely doable with the help of Stefan and his brute force. We were able to get it out.
Brute force and ignorance.
Yeah.
We got it out.
So yeah, it's going to be pretty cool seeing this engine take shape and well, turn into a 700 horsepower or whatever engine it turns into, and then putting it in that 500 SEC. So definitely really excited. Let's see how the rest of the stuff goes on it.
Every engine swap when you do it, it's 1,000 horsepower. It's 1,000 horsepower no matter what. It's an LS, it's 1,000.
Yep, 1,000 horsepower.
1,000 horse.
Until it hits the dyno. Then
Yeah.
you get disappointed.
Whatever.
So that's going to be everything for the V12 biturbo. It's finally out of the car. We've tucked it in the corner of the shop for now because yeah, we're going to be getting to this one a little later. We have to do a few upgrades on this engine before we start putting it in this car. We're talking about the upgrades and well, talking about the plan for this project, because it is a little more than just like taking a new engine and putting it in an old car. It's a pretty cool project actually. So we're going to be changing quite a few things on this engine. We're going to be moving it to standalone electronics, of course, running it with the Haltech, and that's actually going to allow us to make a few changes to it. So first of all, we don't have to stick with these massive ignition coils that run the whole length of the engine. These were basically like two massive ignition coils on either side that used to run 12 spark plugs each. The engine has 24 spark plugs in total, and the problem is that when these ignition coils fail, which is pretty common actually, you're pretty expensive to replace. Buy new ones from the dealership. I believe they're like $1,000 each. So They're a pretty problematic thing on these engines. That's why we're just going to be getting rid of them. We're going to be running the engine with the individual ignition coils that come in the M113 models. So that way it's going to be easier to run this engine with standalone electronics. It's going to be more reliable. And the other really big change, of course, that we're going to be making to this engine is that we're going to be getting rid of these turbos, and we're going to be putting much bigger turbos on it, because the engine itself was actually pretty well built and pretty strong internally. But the only main limiting factor of power on this engine was the size of the turbos. They were pretty small for the size of the engine. So even though the engine made tons of torque low down, higher RPMs, the turbos just run out of flow. That's why, first of all, they never made the engine rev too high, and secondly, the engine doesn't make too much power for the massive engine that it is. It only made like 496 horsepower from the factory, I believe. But we can do a lot better than that. We are going to be going with bigger turbos, giving a slightly more boost, raising the RPM a little higher. And I believe we're going to be able to take this as high as 900 horsepower with the changes we're going to be making to this engine. So that's going to be insane, putting a 900 horsepower V12 in an old car like this, which is going to look completely stock, by the way, on the outside. We're going to be doing no changes at all to the exterior. The person later on, of course, is going to be restoring the car completely, making it look a lot cleaner than even what it looks right now. So once we're done with everything on this engine, we are actually going to be dynoing it on an engine dyno. It's actually going to be the same engine dyno we're going to be testing the F1 engine on, and it's going to be really cool. I cannot even wait to tune this one and see how much power we get out of this one. For the transmission, we're going with a standalone transmission controller. Even though this one has the same bolt patterns as the M113, the same transmission adapters and everything that we made for that one, swapping it to manual, will work with this engine. But the person doesn't want to make this car a manual. He wants to keep it an automatic. That's why we're going to be going with the standalone transmission controller for controlling this 5-speed automatic transmission. And after that, well, the coolest part of it all, I think, is that we're going to be making a standalone ABS controller for this car, which is going to be fully configurable. You're going to be able to change the level of assist, the brake bias, front to rear. It's going to have a virtual LSD, so the same way newer cars have. If the outside tire is slipping, they apply a little bit of brakes on it so the torque moves to the opposite tire. And also, it's going to brake the inside tire when you're going through a corner, so that you can choose between oversteer or understeer. If you want the car to oversteer more, it's going to brake the inside back tire. If you want it to understeer, it's going to brake the front outside tire. So pretty much the same way ESP works in modern cars, but it's going to be fully configurable. You're going to be able to change everything with individual knobs and the level of ABS assist and all that. So it's going to be super cool. It's pretty much going to be like a full motorsports level ABS system going in this old car. And once that system is developed, I really want to use the same one in my car too, the E55 ASL. So that's really a system I cannot even wait to do more work on and then see how it goes. Matt is going to be mainly working on that one, and Stefan is going to be mainly helping me with doing all the work on this engine and all the fabrication work on this car and taking it apart and everything. Stefan, by the way, massive thanks to him. He has been a massive help in the shop so far, and you're going to be seeing him in quite a lot more videos actually. He's helping me with a few other cars over here as well. So the next video is going to be on this car, taking this one apart. But before that, I have to clear a few cars out of the shop. But yeah, this was really a project that I could not even say no to. This is a really cool project, a little different than this one. This was a cool project too, but this one, well, it's a lot of work, this project. That's the only reason I think things are a little slow on this one, because first we had to restore all the rust on this one, then we had to take the C63 apart entirely, which was a lot of work, by the way, taking all the electronics out of that car and everything, and then also the whole the part that we're stuck on the project right now, doing a right-hand drive conversion on it. So that's why this project has been a little slow, and there's still quite a lot more work left on it. But hopefully this project is going to be a little quicker than this one, since there's not as much work required in it to get everything working, but nonetheless a really cool end result we're going to get with this one. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for more content on this project. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, so that you can get all the notifications when we upload a new video on this one or this project or whichever video is coming next sooner. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. This is going to be everything for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.